Welcome to all of you out there, astrology friends, for this monthly horoscope for April of 2023. And yes, I'm holding this microphone in my hands because I'm a bit obsessive about this at the moment. I just did the whole video and the microphone went for some reason on and off and on and off and on and off. So I don't want to make the mistake 2 times. And that's why I'm just, now I've got you. This is not going to happen to me 2 times, okay? So, I feel like a real, someone from the news is telling you the news or, CNN or something. But anyway, this is definitely not CNN. Welcome to this reading. It's for all the signs for the month of April. I'm going to talk about 4 things approximately each and every sign. I'm going to talk about 4 things, but in particular, it's I'm going to make separate videos about what I'm going to talk about as well for a little bit more depth. But if you're like me and you just want to know very shortly and quickly what's going on in April, I want to know how it is, then this is your video. If you like to have it a little bit more longer, go to my other videos. I made a video of Mars in Cancer. I'm going to make a video of the eclipse as well, and also of the Mercury retrograde. You see, I'm double checking. You see, it's a bit like nerdy, isn't it? But anyway, so let's delve into this. It's a very eventful month again because we have an eclipse, we have a Mercury retrograde. And we have Mars in Cancer, although this was already in March, but it's a relief, you could say. It's a change after all these months of having Mars in Gemini. And now Venus is in Gemini. So this is also important to know that Venus is at the spot where Mars did all its work. And I'm being very self-conscious of this. But anyway, I hope you find it pleasant as well, right? I'm doing this on a Sunday afternoon, I don't want to ruin my whole Sunday afternoon by just frustrating myself. I can get so frustrated by techniques. Are you the same? Just comment on that. I can get so frustrated. There's nothing more that frustrates me than computers and all these kind of technical stuff. But anyway, I love astrology and you do too. Otherwise you wouldn't watch this. Let's delve into this. The first thing, of course, is the eclipse. The eclipse is a total one, a solar eclipse, you could say, with the sun and the moon together at 29 degrees of Aries. And it's really definitely, you could say, a new start, but also an ending for sure, because not only because the new moon, it's always some sort of an ending and a new beginning, but definitely as well because it's at the last degree of the sign of Aries. So a double whammy of new beginnings. Now, Aries is very fiery, and this eclipse belongs to the Saros cycle 7 North, which means that the origin of that is a very passionate eclipse. It's and definitely the passions that had to be hidden for some sort of reason, whether it was positive or negative, I'm not judging here, but the passions that are hidden are now flaring up. And that could be for better or for worse. Sometimes we have to just keep things to ourselves a little bit. And but now is the time that it shows itself, so to speak, and that gives the new beginning and an ending and a new beginning. Now, the fact it's we have to look at the aspects, right? The aspects that are occurring during that day that the eclipse is happening, which is on the 20th of April. Now, it's very close to Jupiter. So that's a very, you could say, a positive kind of aspect. Jupiter conjoining with the sun is going to pass Jupiter and the moon as well. And this is all about expansion, and it's kind of exhilarating and making it even more enthusiastic than it already is. I mean, remember, Aries is a very enthusiastic sign. And with Jupiter there, it's pretty enthusiastic. And with all that passion, I mean, it's quite raw and quite fiery. And is there a but? Yes, there is a but. I have to say there is a but. But it's a very interesting one, and it's a Plutonian one, because this eclipse squares up to Pluto. And Pluto is at 0 degrees, you could say, of Aquarius, which is the very beginning. And it squares up to this new moon. So this has the story of a transformation, for sure. So a square is always tension, and it means that it demands consciousness to be able to deal with it. But it definitely shows an opportunity for something, you could, of course, do something impulsively because of this Aries energy. But Pluto is very much a planet of karma, I find. And Pluto is not going to take something away that is still necessary for your growth. So definitely courageous, passionate, raw, but also transformative energy for sure. And trust that process, right? That is when Pluto is, it's also a bit of surrendering. That, surrendering of that which we cannot control, I mean. So that's for the eclipse. But again, I'm going to make probably next week or so, make a separate video of that. Mars is still in Cancer, so I'm going to have a look at that as well for the signs, because Mars is the ruler of Aries. So we're going to look at what is happening. It is connected to this solar eclipse as well. We also have a Mercury retrograde on the 22nd of April, and it's in Taurus. So also, besides all of this, we have to remind ourselves at something that we need to reassess. And it's also very raw and real stuff that we need to revisit. So we'll be looking at that. And Venus in Gemini, as I already said, it shows where the last couple of 6-7 months that we had Mars in Gemini, where is it that we find now a little bit more peace? So that is good to know for sure. Of course, the eclipses, they are now in Aries. It's the first eclipse that we are going to encounter in the sign of Aries, but the south node is still in in Scorpio, and the north node in Taurus. So again, for those of you who want to know more, I'll explain this a little bit more into detail. But the thing is that we are going to encounter this year, especially as from July, but this year, that the focus will need to lie a little bit more on the Aries energy, because there is where the North Node will shift into very soon. So around July time. And that means that we all tap into the energy of courageousness and of pioneering new energy, doing things that, stepping into the unknown and being a bit scared of it, but doing it anyway, that courageous Aries energy. So let's go and have a look for each and every sign. Aries, of course, for you, the whole beginning is about you. It's all about new beginnings for you. And the first house is your life path. So your life path, I mean, it's like everything. It can be a job. It can be a relationship. It can be you that is drastically reaching a point where you say goodbye to the old and you say hello to the new. Because it squares up to Pluto in the house of goals and wishes for the future, this definitely is like an opportunity to step into a new goal in your life, but one that you're a bit afraid of to take. On another level, of course, Pluto in the 11th means friendships and so on. But I think because this is in your sign, the sun and the moon, and it's really your life path, I think it's more than just new friends or transformations in the house of friends or in your friend's life or in your connection with your friends. It's more than that. It's like new goals are really waiting for you, and it's time now to see them. Also, if it's very uncomfortable, because that is what it suggests, this Sun square Pluto, you're also very enthusiastic about it because Jupiter is there very, very close, which is very lovely. Mars in the 4th house means that you are in this house, and it means that you can put a lot of effort into your emotional security and also literally your home. So if you want to improve it, put your energy there, because otherwise it's going to be in a negative way, Mars in the 4th, and that is, discussions and fights with relatives and your family, and you don't want that. So put it into action to change the furniture, to whatever it is to change around the home, but also you could be working from home more than normal, but definitely working on being your own emotional support. Now, this Venus in Gemini is in your 3rd house, so where you had all these lessons I've been talking about this month after month, where Mars was, now Venus is there, which means a lot more of easiness around communication. So they're going to be a bit softer, your communication, and also the communication that you will receive, and that is nice. You could also be thinking about love more because of Venus in this 3rd house. That could be a new love, it could be a new love interest, and there's definitely energy for that with all this buoyant Jupiter conjunct this eclipse is definitely full of passionate energy for sure. And you could also have a better connection with siblings and with people in the neighborhood because of Venus in this house. And also you could enjoy a short trip, even if Mercury is going retrograde, I know, but Mercury is going retrograde in your 2nd house of money and in your 2nd house of belongings, of your self-worth. So it is more for you in that area of your life where you need to change your mind a little bit. So change your mind when it comes to that, and you will have a very interesting month indeed. Taurus, of course, for you, the Mercury retrograde is very significant here. So let's start with this. Mercury retrograde in your own sign means that you will have to, you will feel that you have to think about yourself, how you profile yourself towards the world and everybody else. I mean, everybody else. It's in your 1st house. So it's a good time to not implement yet how you are going to show who you are, but to think about how you stand in the world. Is this the way you want it to be? Probably not, because this is suggesting that within the couple of weeks that are yet to come, next month it's going to go direct, but that's for next month. But you want to start doing the research of where do I want to change? How do I want to react and act in my connections in a different way? So there's a lot that you want to change about yourself, and that's a good thing. But you have to start somewhere. Now, Venus in your 2nd house is good because you are the 2nd house, right? It's related to the sign of Taurus. And with Venus there, it means that there is a lovely, more loving energy towards the self, which is a boost for your confidence and can also be a boost on a financial level. So that should go a little bit better than usual. Now, the eclipse is in your 12th house. So for you, this eclipse is more on the behind the scenes, you could say. It's a very unconscious house. And because it squares up to Pluto in your 10th house, there is a connection to your work or to a parent, or if you don't work, you could also say the public life that you're having and how others, and particularly the public, how the world sees you. So there is some sort of an ending and a new beginning starting. And because of this energy in your 12th house, it's a lot about old patterns that you want to get rid of. It's related patterns that you do with your public life, and with a connection with a parent, and your work. So for a lot of you, especially the ones who have a job, this has to do with old patterns that are not healthy and that you have to get rid of so that you can take your power back when it comes to your work. which is good, but it's not the easiest. But also because Jupiter is in your 12th house, you do have the confidence there, and the support, from, you could say, outer worldly, because the 12th house is very much, a very thin veil, you could say, to other dimensions. But you're a very real person, so you want these things to be real, and you want to improve yourself when it comes to knowing thyself. And that is also supported by Mars in Cancer in your 3rd house, so the way that you think. Now, Mars is in Cancer, goes well with Taurus. So this energy, normally Mars in the 3rd house can make energy of discussions and so on. But this is just a more liveliness for you, where you are ready to, especially if you have your own business, you could do a lot of PR, you could do a lot of travel for business, or you could do a lot of, calls and emails and so on. So quite a busy month for you indeed. Geminis, let's start for you with Venus in your sign. This is lovely after all these months of Mars in your sign, where you feel like, oh yeah, I have to start those new beginnings, and it's like, oh, I have to do it. It can give you a little bit of anxiety there. But now Venus in your sign is like, you're calming down, you are okay with yourself, and enjoy that. It's also a good time to go to, having a new garderobe, or having a new snit. How do you say that in English? I can't find a word now. Haircut. So do something with it to improve your looks, and not that they are bad, but just to improve it and to enjoy it. And you will be like a butterfly, right? And a Gemini butterfly, enjoying yourself, and that is so sexy and attractive. Anyway, the eclipse is happening in your 11th house, so squaring up to your 9th house. So there is changes going on for the better when it comes to transformation as well, in the way that you think, that is connected to your goals for the future and to friendships. So this could be an ending and a totally fresh new start with a current friendship, or a totally new friendship, or a goal that you were not really ready for, but now the circumstances are like that yeah, off you go, especially if you change your mindset, because it squares up to Pluto, and the ruler of that is Mars in your 2nd house. So this shows to put a lot of emphasis on your hustling for the money, your self-worth, your belongings, to make sure that you are secure, and to do your own stuff there. The Mercury retrograde is in the 12th house. So for you, that could be a bit annoying, because you are Mercury, and the 12th house is a bit of a house like, what's going on here? On a positive level, your dreams can tell you solutions. So put a notebook next to your bed, and that will be very interesting for you. Cancerians, this eclipse is important for you. You are a cardinal sign, and this eclipse is in a cardinal sign. It's your career, your public life, and your connection with a parent that is under this transformational energy. It squares up to Pluto in the 8th house, so it's quite deep what you're doing. The connection between those 3 things that I just said, and between the value that you receive from others. There could be a transformation going on, that you get rid of the value that you need from others, and not getting rid in a negative way, but Cancerians are known to protect the people that they love, but sometimes also they give a lot in order to actually be seen, and in order to be loved. And when you do, and that is a beautiful thing, but just don't do that too much. And this reflects that there is some energy around your work, that you might have been doing that too much. But now with Mars in your 1st house, you have an opportunity to draw a line, to put some boundaries, especially if those boundaries were to loosen. This is a time to correct it. So that is very interesting for you indeed. Mercury is in the 11th house. So there is some reassessment going on with your friends, and reassessment with your goals. So it might be one person or many people from your friend circle that you thought, nah, for instance, nah, I don't know about them. And something happens and you say to yourself, I was wrong actually. They are better than I thought. Or the other way around. I hope not, but it's possible. Also, when it comes to a goal, you might have had a goal in the past that is actually you're thinking now, you're reassessing it. There's nothing wrong with it, but to take action is better next month. I'll talk about that in the monthly horoscopes for May. Venus is in the 12th house. Now, that can be a blessing or a curse. A blessing, definitely. And I think it's going to be more like a blessing because it suits Cancerian people. The 12th house is the house of sacrifice, but it's also the house of doing, not to sacrifice yourself, but to do something just because you want to do it to help someone in need. So just make sure that it's the good people, right? So, and probably related to friends, because there's a lot happening in the friend circle as well. So make sure that if you do something for someone else, that they are truly in need, and that you're not doing it just to get that validation, because that's not going to work for you anymore. It's like you've outgrown that. And but it's very beautiful if you can indeed help a friend in need, and they will, thank you for that for the rest of their lives. And in another level, the house of secrets, Venus is love, so there could be going on something in the love area where you have to keep things secrets. You have to keep things secret, and I'm not here to judge. It's just what it is. It is an energy, so you do whatever you want to do with it. But sometimes it's necessary, right? That you have to keep things a little bit to yourself before you can fully show what you feel, and that's going to happen when Venus will be in your sign, by the way, and that's for next month. So a lot behind the scenes, but also a lot like shifts to implement there for you, or possibilities. Leos, this is a beautiful eclipse for you, although it squares up to Pluto, okay, but it's in your 9th house. It's the house of hope. It's the house of being connected with all that there is. And yes, it does square up to this Pluto in your 7th house. So what is triggering this could be, just my nose is itching a little bit. What is triggering this is connections and relationships. Pluto just started in your 7th house. It's just the beginning. It's tiptoeing, which is showing like, the relationships, it's either power struggles, or it's all or nothing, or it's very much like manipulation. It's not going to work, right? Control, it's not going to work. Either you trying to do that to others, or they trying to do it to you. It's not going to work. And this beautiful eclipse in the 9th house can really help you to have a positive outlook on that as an attitude, basically, because you have a connection with the divine. And whether it is God that you believe in, or the divine, or in nature, whatever it is, it can really give you an optimistic support, because it's the road to God, the 9th house. It's also the house of publishments, of travel. So you could be like finding love and through traveling, and that is a very, very transformative effect. So that could happen as well, which is not always a bad thing. But Pluto suggests that it's quite deep and quite a bit fearful to take that step. So and the ruler, Mars, of this eclipse is in your 12th house. So you have to be aware of being a little bit more prone towards self-sabotage. So make sure that you're not playing the victim, which probably mostly Leos, I say mostly, Leos are not really tempted to play the victim and to sit there in a corner and say, it's all their fault and not mine. But it can mean that you have to take some actions behind the scenes and prepare that, whatever it is that you have to do behind the scenes, and also doing something for other people that are very much in need. It can also be a very good energy for that. The retrograde Mercury is in your 10th house, and that is work. So it's a bit of everything for you basically this month. Also your work. So if you do work or your public life or a connection with a parent, you're going to reassess it. You're going to have a look at how can I improve it. And that's a good thing. And Venus in the 11th house, that is lovely. I love that for you. It's really, really buoyant to have Venus in your 11th house where Mars was for a long, 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 long time. So if you did have discussions with friends, if you did have, new things that you wanted to launch and it was a bit of insecurity around that with Venus in the 11th for new goals, friends, having nice social events happening. It's lovely. So go ahead. Virgos, let's start with Mercury, your ruler, and it's going backwards and forwards in Taurus in your 9th house. That is a better, you could say, Mercury retrograde for you. Why? Because you are a fellow earth sign and Taurus is earth as well. So this simply suggests a shift in your mindset and you're ready for it. So there is something very real about your mindset that is changing. And remember, this is around the 22nd of April. So that is a time where some events are going to occur where you're saying, well, my vision, it probably wasn't the best one. And I have to revisit this. And Virgos and Geminis, because they're ruled by Mercury, are used to that. So you are used to it. It's that same old Mercury retrograde. And you could be traveling to a country where you already went when you were younger. But if you are traveling to a new place, it could mean a little bit of a slowing down there. So make sure you've got some books with you and you will be fine. It's a good time if you're a writer or if you have to do a lot of speech and communication and revisit something. Therefore, or restudying something that you've already studied in the past. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm a Virgo, Sun in Virgo, and going to a country where people speak Spanish, and I'm going to revisit that course. It is uncanny how sometimes this can show itself in very simple explanations. But anyway, the eclipse is happening in your 8th house, and that's a bit deep there. So there's definitely a death and a rebirth going on when it comes to your deep psychological understanding of yourself. The 8th house, when an eclipse is happening there and it squares up to Pluto in your 6th house, it means that your day-to-day life can change because of the way you see things in a psychological way. So you could be dealing with some fears and attacking them on a daily basis and doing your best every single day and being stronger than you think, basically. Or you could be simply, in combination with what I just said, be interested in the occult and in doing some metaphysical studies or reading some books there and delve very deep into it. But it might be just that needs to transform your day-to-day habits. So you could be dealing with that as well. That actually your habits, that your health and so on, that you're trying to make big changes there. But you've got a lot of time to do that because Pluto just started there. Venus is in your 10th house. I like that. You have been having Mars in your 10th house for such a long time. For those of you who work for a boss, it could be a bossy boss that you had, and there was some, insecurities around it, or you wanted to change jobs, or you did that already. And now Venus in the 10th house shows ease, a bit more ease there. Also, if you want to apply for a new job, Venus in the 10th is one of the best positions to have because it gives you charm. Remember, it's a public kind of energy there in the 10th house. So people perceive you as very Venusian, as very charming. And, every company that you want to work for loves, pleasant people, right? And friendly people. And definitely witty as well, as you always are, but now a little bit more with this Venus in Gemini. Mars is in your 11th house, so you're quite busy when it comes to reaching your dreams. And it's in Cancer here. And also with being a bit more active in the friendship house. So, but the people who support you, right? To invest in the people that support you, to not invest in the people that are not giving you emotional support, because this is, after all, a water sign. Librans, you are going to have on the 6th already your full moon. So this shows the Libran, for the Libras, this is always an important month for you because of that. So you're not only having an eclipse in the opposite house on the 20th of April, but you're also having a full moon in your sign on the 6th. So this is all about you and another person. If you are single, this is about you and how you see relationships. So there is a shift here for sure. And it's a lot about your needs and their needs. And if you are in a connection, definitely on a love level, there is something shifting here that needs to shift. So it's very necessary. And so don't put your head in the sand if you think that everything is breaking down. It is for a reason. So the things that, remember from the beginning that I said in this reading, that what you can control, you control. If you can't, if it's out of your control, you surrender. This is a very important lesson here with this eclipse. And so definitely very passionate energy here. So, but it's about realness. It's about honesty. It's about authenticity as well. This Pluto for you in your 5th house, it's the house of the heart. It's the house of, this is how I feel. This is my own uniqueness. And it could definitely mean new relationship for people. A new relationship that has started, a very passionate one, and a very also expansive one where you learn a lot about yourself because of this Jupiter next to it. So enjoy that for sure. And of course, there's going to be a little percentage of you that are really struggling now in a relationship, and you know it, that it's really going wrong. This could be the time that you say, look, enough is enough, and I'm going for my heart. I'm going to a life of enjoyment and a life without toxicity, because this squares up to Pluto. So Pluto wants to bring up things that are not healthy for a reason. Mars in your 10th house is, you see what a lively month it is for the Librans, with a little bit of everything. This is the work area, by the way. And if you don't work, it's more centered around how you show yourself into the world, into the public, or a connection with a parent. There is, with Mars in the 10th house, more energy there. So in a good way, this could mean that you want to change a job, that you want to, or that you have a bossy boss that is triggering you for some reason. And, it's about dealing with that in your Libra way for sure, but also seeing it as, okay, how can I improve my work for the future? The Mercury retrograde is in the 8th house, so that's very deep. So beneath the surface, you could say, a lot of metaphysical, deep psychological stuff is interesting you, and you're thinking about that. Themes like death and rebirth are very, very common to come up around this time when this Mercury goes retrograde in your 8th house. It's definitely a time of reflection and of knowing thyself, of looking at your own shadow, because you're interested in growth, and that's a good thing. Then Scorpios, this eclipse is happening in your day-to-day life. It's in the 6th house, so squares up to the 4th house. So when it comes to your emotional stability and your work, your day-to-day life, your health, there are some changes. There are some endings, some new beginnings. So definitely for Scorpios, they kind of understand this square to Pluto. They understand that sometimes things have an end cycle, and everything is a cycle, and sometimes things end, and it is a necessary thing. So Scorpios really, really know that very to their core, you could say. But now it's a lot about your work and your health and your day-to-day life. So there could be this newness starting here. And although it's a little bit you could say, scary, to say the least, because of Pluto in your 4th house. And it's definitely also dealing with old patterns, emotional patterns that are no longer suiting you. So they could be, giving you that feeling of resistance, but you know that you have to keep on going and that it is for the best to do these new things, whether it is a health regime or whether it is a new job. You can work on that. And here is the seeds that are planted for that success. Mercury is retrograde in your 7th house, which is interesting. It means that relationships, if you are in a relationship, you will revisit it. If you're not, someone from the past could come back, or there could be a person that you meet, a new person. And when the Mercury goes backwards, which is for you around the 22nd of April, you kind of reflect on them, which is a natural thing. People meet each other very often with a Mercury retrograde, that they just have met someone and then Mercury goes backwards. They thought they were one thing and they are another thing. You see, it is very common when you get to know someone. So it's not all that, drama of, oh, my ex is going to return. Don't open the door if you don't want that. Period. It's Mercury in Taurus. It's very raw and authentic and real and without a lot of drama. So, and what's interesting is that Venus is in your 8th house. So that could mean more intimacy, more opportunity for, especially with a special person, to feel seen. And it's a bit like Venus in Scorpio, basically. And you're going to love that really intimate, because Scorpios crave intimacy, but at the same time, they're super, super scared of it, to be vulnerable. But when you reach that state that you can do it, that both of you can be vulnerable and showing, you're not doing that to anyone. You have to have a lot of trust for that. And you're taking that risk, basically, that can really let a relationship blossom. On another level, of course, the 8th house is secrecy, so there could be something secret going on here. So, forearmed is forewarned. Now, Mars is in your 9th house. Your ancient ruler, Mars, is in the 9th house, which I love for you. So if you can, do travel, even whilst we're having a Mercury retrograde. It's probably more the person that is with you, that you travel with, or the people around you, that could be a little bit more mercurial and more like shifting their minds every now and then. But when it comes to studies, when it comes to learning something or teaching, you yourself teaching others, or being very active when it comes to your connection with the divine. So in your connection with all there is, it could be such a blessing. And because this Mars is in Cancer, it trines your energy, which is really, really lovely. Sagittarians, this is nice, this eclipse. You're together with the Leos, because you're a fellow fire sign. You're really, really up for a boost here. In enjoyable things. This is happening in your 5th house, the house of joy, the house of children, the house of love, the house of romance, the house of what do you love to do, and you're doing it. So that could be a new start here with a new hobby, a new project, a new love interest for sure. It squares up to Pluto though in your 3rd house. So it could have some consequences when it comes to the communication that you have towards siblings, towards people in your neighborhood. But also it could mean a little bit obsessive thoughts as well. So because of all of this fire, normally Sagittarius is not a sign that overly obsesses, although a lot of Sagittarians have Mercury or Venus in Scorpio. So there could be a way of being a bit more passionate than other times. But I think with this Jupiter is you, and you are next to this eclipse, and you are really feeling also this enjoyment of fresh new starts. And although it squares up to this Pluto, which is transformative, it's like so much positive energy that you will be fine, and that you will not be too scared of this obsessive energy of Pluto, right? That wants to control things. And so your mind could play some controlling tricks. Now you are warned here that if your mind goes like, oh, but this is going to happen, I'm scared of this, you're saying, if you can't control it, let go of it. Sagittarians are quite good at that. They are such an adventurous sign, and they go for the adventure. Talking about relationship, it's a lot about relationship for Sagittarians. I really love this for you. You're having Venus now in the 7th house. Oh my goodness me. Is this a good sign? So if you're one of those Sagittarians that had a rough time with Mars in the 7th house, the last 6-7 months with other people being feisty and being fiery and like saying like, this is where I draw the line or whatnot, it's now a very soothing energy. So your relationships should go a little bit more with ease, a little bit more with gentleness. And that is lovely after all this time of this very, kind of a bit frustrative energy and insecure energy there with that square to Neptune for so long. So enjoy that. Enjoy the good connections. Mercury retrograde in your 6th house suggests a reassessment of your work. Every now and then, it's not a bad thing to reassess. That's why we have all those Mercury retrogrades in a year. Mostly it's like 3 times a year. But it's to reassess, it's to improve, to grow. So also when it comes to your work, also your health, you could be doing different things that relate to health, also nourishment, because it's in Taurus after all, so you could be doing something new here. Now use this time in April for investigation, and then you can implement it later on in the next month. Mars in the 8th house is a bit tricky, you could say, because it's a house of secrets, it's a house of the hidden. But in a good way, you can use it to delve into the metaphysical side of life, being interested in topics like death and rebirth. Mars in there can suggest a lot of exploration on a deep psychological level and of how you battle your fears. That is a good way of this Mars in the 8th house. Be aware of doing things in secrets, because that is also something that people tend to do when Mars transits the 8th house. Capricorns, all of this eclipse is happening in your 4th house. Important because it squares up to your 2nd house with Pluto. That has to do with your worth. Now, this combination can suggest for a lot of you, not all of you, of course, not every Capricorn is going to move, but literally it can deal with different homes, selling, buying, and the Pluto in the 2nd house is the house of money. So a lot of you will have those teams of, I'm scared to, am I going to do it? Am I going to buy another house whilst my current house is still not sold? Those kind of subjects. There are endings and new beginnings around that area. If that is not the case for you, it's more around your emotions. There is something emotionally that is shifting. How you parent yourself, how you nurture yourself. The 4th house is the house of nurturing. Literally, it could also mean a connection with a parent. There is a transformation going on here, and that has a very profound effect on you in how you deal with your own nourishment and your own relationship with yourself, how you fulfill your own needs, and how you are not looking outside how to fulfill them. Mars is in the 7th house. That is a lively energy. So the ruler of all this energy of the eclipse is in your 7th house. So it could be connected to another person, a business partner, or a romantic person. If you're single, this could mean you're going to attract a feisty Mars kind of like of person, which knows what they want, but who are also caring, because it's in Cancer after all. So you could be dealing with energy that you say like, oh yeah, I have to listen to them really, where they're coming from, because they have a point. It's no use when you have Mars in the 7th house to not listen to other people and to just rigidly stick to what you are all after. No, it's like that, finding that balance for sure. Mercury retrograde for you is rather pleasant because it's in a fellow earth sign and it's in the 5th house, which can suggest that you are going to try to do new things and or old things that you've done before, but to have enjoyment, in life. Because the fifth house is the house of the heart. It's where the hobbies that we love to do. It's the things that we do that bring us joy, whether it is that old course that you once did, maybe a cooking course and that you're picking up again, and you're going to do it and you're going to love it. Or you're thinking about a hobby that you really, really liked as a child. You're going to redo it, maybe dancing or whatever it is. Now, it could also mean a love relationship that that you had with someone in the past that is, you're rethinking at it, to say the least. But you could also give it one more try, right? Like in the song, George Michael. Anyway, so also with your connection with children, there could be some changes in how you communicate with your children. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there could be some changes going on there. And Venus in your sixth house is having a bit more fun and ease with your work, but also with your day-to-day routines. Sometimes we do our routines and it's like, and sometimes we do our routines and we're enjoying it. We're enjoying it to make ourselves and our loved ones breakfast, for instance, and we don't know why, but we're enjoying it more. That's Venus in your sixth house. So also when it comes to work and you want a different work, use your charm. Venus in the sixth house. Aquarians, how are you doing, dear Aquarians, with this Pluto entering your sign and squaring up to this eclipse in your third house? Now, Aries goes very well, it goes well with Aquarian energy. So it's going to be quite optimistic and supportive for you with Jupiter in your third house, the house of the mind, the house of your communication, the house of your neighborhood and your siblings. And there is something, an ending and a new beginning there of these connections, but also of, because you have changed. Pluto in your sign is like, yes, this is not that you're not authentic before that, but it obliges you almost to be who you are, without, secrets. It's what you see is what you get kind of energy with Pluto in your first house. You can't do it other ways. It's out of your control. And that could have a new beginning in your neighborhood, in your connection with siblings, your connection with people that you deal with on a daily basis, connection with your own mind. There's something that shifts in your mind that it could also mean a study. And because you are you feel like you want to be more authentic, and you could do a whole new study. You could do a workshop or a course than, like, let's say 4 years at university. That's more than ninth house. The third house is very related to practical skills like driving or a language or something that is quite practical. Although a language, it could be the ninth house as well. I'm still, how are you thinking about that? I can't figure that out yet. Whether it is the third house or the ninth house, studying languages. I think the ninth house, actually. But anyway, long story short, it's a good time to launch a new interest in communication. If you have your own business, wow, this could mean like a totally new website because you've changed, or a totally new business that you are going to promote. It's a good time to promote here, but you're a bit anxious of it because it has to do with the new you, right? So it demands a lot of courage. The ruler of it, Mars, of this eclipse is in your sixth house, again relating to work, or at least relating to your routines. So very busy with Mars in the sixth house is always suggesting that you could be a bit busier at work, but you could also be busier at your health. It might be that some issue that you're already having is just flaring up and you need to be active and take action. So it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. And it's in Cancer. So it means that the problems that you would have on a health level is going to be a bit more emotional because of emotional suppressment. You could say suppressment. Is that a word? Suppression. That's the word. Mercury goes retrograde in your fourth house. So meanwhile, you are also rethinking, is this a good home for me? Selling, buying, what am I going to do? And others are going to think, how do I nurture myself? I'm emotionally not where I want to be. I want to be more secure. How do I do that without needing others? But how can I fulfill that? How can I fill up my own cup? These are all questions that if they arise, they are good to look at. You don't have to solve them immediately, but definitely during this month, you could think about it. So a very interesting month for you, Aquarians, for sure. Last but not least, Pisces, this eclipse in your second house of worth, self-worth. It squares up to Pluto in your 12th. So this is about your old patterns that are shifting, or you are seeing them, or you are obliged now to deal with them in a way where it secures you more on a financial level, but also on a level of security, stability in your life. So there is a possibility of more stability by you doing something new with your resources, with your money, with your talents, with your self-worth. And the trick is to be open for your blind spots. So if people are telling you the same over, it's time to listen to them and to not be stubborn and say, I'm always been like that. You know, it's a time to, of course, you have your free will, but it's a good time here to transform. And it's going to, in the long run, give you a boost in your confidence. And that is for everyone a good thing. Now, Mercury retrograde in the third house is rather lovely because, normally a Mercury retrograde is not lovely at all in the third house, but for you it is because it sextiles your energy, right? So people kind of panic sometimes. Oh, Mercury in the third house, I'm going to lose my keys, I'm going to lose my watch, my cell phone, whatever. It is a good time here to, you could say, kind of reassess those devices and look at, how can I improve them? So your old computer, for instance, don't wait up until, if you're having an old computer and it's not starting up well, try to figure it out already now before the Mercury retrograde starts on the 22nd of April. So you're forewarned, armed here, right? Armed is forearmed. Forearmed is forewarned. I use this expression a lot, but I kind of just not knowing it, how I have to express it. But anyway, you know what I mean. I'm sure of that. And I'll read it in the comments again and again. But it's a lovely energy to go back to a short trip, you know, that you already did, and to enjoy yourself from the good wines and the good foods, you know, this Taurian energy. Or you could go back to something that you studied in the past and you're picking it up again. That is also the Mercury retrograde there. So I think for you, it will not be that drastic, dramatic, that, you know, a car that you buy, it's going to break down and all of that. You know, take that with a piece of salt. Again, it sextiles your energy. You should be fine. Venus in your fourth house is so lovely. It is soothing energy. For sure. I always think that Pisceans love that when Venus transits the fourth house. I hear that quite often, that Pisceans start to decorate and to beautify their homes and to invite people and people that they love to their homes to celebrate. So use that positive energy there to enjoy life and to fulfill your emotional needs, basically, because the fourth house is your emotional needs. So last but not least, Mars is in your fifth house. And that is again lovely because although, yes, Mars in Cancer is, you know, in its detriment and whatnot, but you have to see it again in the whole context of who is experiencing this. And you are a Piscean. Mars in Cancer goes very well with Pisces. It's called a trine, and that is very positive energy. So your love level energy is going up, 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 not only with this passionate energy, which you can use more for your talents and your confidence, but certainly if you are a single Piscean, this could mean that you can date now and find the lover that you want. And it's going to be a very feisty one, Mars, but also a very protective person. And emotional, delivering you emotional support, which is Cancer. It could also mean a very good, lively time when it comes to your hobbies and how you enjoy yourself, like doing some sports or hobbies that you love to do that are connected with water, in Cancer. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but it can also be a cooking course that you've always wanted to do and you're going to do it, Mars and Cancer in the 5th house. Basically enjoy it and love it. And it's a rather good month for you for sure. Having said that, and I think I've looked like 20 times to this little microphone, but I've managed it. I stayed calm. I didn't get all frustrated and all of that. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you a very, very good, eventful, because it's a very eventful month. All the best. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Bye-bye.